if you think about your own band and the shows that you've done with the band, do you see a lot of these L-word fans in the crowd because of Lisa?
Absolutely. You know, it's kind of like the American Idol phenomenon. It's the television phenomenon of having an actress in the band or having someone like Adam be on TV. It kind of it reaches so many people, and I think it's a blessing. It's sometimes a curse because then you don't grow your audiences as much as you want to, whatever. But yeah, the L-word fans, they're awesome. They're so diehard. It's unbelievable. They kind of remind me of his fans for sure. So yeah, we encounter those a lot.
Well, how did you get to know Lisa?
We met first at a kickball game. It's so random. I don't really play kickball that often. I've only played once, and that's when I met her. And then I met her at a wedding. And then she kind of cold called me out of the blue and was like, "Do you want to start a band?" And I was phasing out of being the bass player for Mellodrone because we had gotten dropped from Sony. So yeah, I was kind of ready to do something new, and it kind of happened at the right moment, and we just kind of went with it. And I think 3 months later we released Icy Red, the EP, and then 3 months after that we had a record out. So it was a really fast kind of turnaround, and there was a lot of hype, and I feel like we were just thrown out into the world and we weren't really prepared for what it entailed. And I think now we've had time to now we're doing it backwards, which is we're like taking time and we're putting thought into everything. And it's really been an interesting little couple years. It was started in 2007, so it's been 3 years. Wow.
You said that you're the leading singer in the band. Did you ever think about going to American Idol competition?
No, I never did. I just because I've been doing it since I was 18 years old. I already had my foray into the industry. I didn't really see the need to kind of have a platform like that, if that makes sense. Plus, I think it thrusts you into such a bigger world than I would be ready to be in, and I kind of like doing the independent artist thing, and I like being a session player. So I never really, I don't know, it just never was for me. But I love and I appreciate the fact that it can give artists, who maybe don't have those, relationships or connections in the industry, like a voice. So yeah, somebody like Adam, he'd been doing it for years. He'd been in theater and so forth, and that really propelled him into the majority, if that makes sense.
Did you ever have some sort of doubts about this whole American Idol thing before you met Adam?
No doubts. I was a huge fan of it. I love Simon Cowell. I know Randy. I actually auditioned for Randy to be on one of his shows, and so we're buddies. I love that it gives people, again, who maybe wouldn't have a chance to show people what they can do. I think it's really, really cool. It's like American Bandstand. It's old school. And so I love that about it. Yeah, no doubts. No doubts.
How do you think that music industry has changed?
Oh, wow.
In a couple of years.
Do you have 10 years for that answer? How do you think it's changed? It's been revolutionized by the digital music industry, and it's an industry where because I'm not going to age myself, but at the same time I've come from the 90s when Nirvana was, those were like my heroes, and records were still selling, and it's done this complete 180, and as artists we're having to find new ways to kind of get to your fans directly, because record labels aren't really doing that for you anymore. I mean, it's such a long answer, but I think ultimately it's, and I've said this before, it's about ownership as an artist. And I think when you're on a label, sometimes you don't get to partake in all the things that you're giving. You're giving yourself entirely to these people, and then you don't really profit from it. We're the people creating. So I think for me, when Leisha and we realized that if we did it on our own, then we'd have more ownership and own our publishing, own our masters, own all of our licensing, and that way all the work that we're putting into it is going to come back to us, and not to some guy in a suit sitting behind a desk. And that's kind of been the mentality. And I think, it's changing, but it's changing for the better, and we'll find new ways to be artists and make a living doing it. That's why I'm doing this job. It's like it's very hard to make a living as an artist nowadays because you don't sell as many records as you used to. So you have to get really creative. You really do.
What would you like to say to those people who download music illegally?
Don't steal. I mean, I hate to be one of those people that doesn't want to change with the times, because I do know that file sharing and downloading happens. At the same time, I kind of liken it to, I've slaved over this thing for 6 months, and I've put my heart and soul into it, and then you come into my living room and you steal it. I mean, it's really true. I mean, that's what they're doing. I don't think people realize that that's what they're doing, or what goes into making music. I think, it's kind of this novelty that people take for granted. So for independent people like me, it really does hurt, what we do, because we don't benefit from it, we don't profit. And if we can't make a living doing that, then we stop doing the art, and then the art's not there. So that's kind of how I see it. That being said, I know people do it, and, you can't change that. I would just hope that people would understand where we are coming from as artists, to try to understand that, if they worked if they made a shoe or something, let's say, and then somebody came into their living room and took their shoe, they'd be like, hey, that's my shoe. Like, you have to buy that from me. That's my shoe that I made. It's the same thing. It's just we're not talking about physical things. So it's hard to monetize that, I think.